All right, so we're recording. My name is Gwen Abbott, obviously, and we're going to discuss tonight motivating millennials in the workplace. I did my white paper on this subject. I'm trying to tie all of my signature assignments into my leadership plan, which involves my workplace. I am a general manager for a skating rink in Roseville, California. I've been there on and off since 1985. It's actually the very first job I ever had. I went to Humboldt State for a couple years, and then I worked at AT&T for 10 until they closed my office the end of 2008. And then I went back to the skating rink. The owner's daughter happened to be pregnant, and they needed a general manager. So I've been back there 7 years now. And the reason why I chose this topic is because the bulk of my staff are millennials. So I thought this would be a good tie-in to my leadership plan. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Hopefully I don't have any problems with this. Whoops. All right. All right, can everybody see that okay? I'm going to minimize this real quick.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. All right, so again, we're discussing motivating millennials in today's workplace. Some of the millennial stereotypes are that they're lazy, they're shallow and narcissistic, they're addicted to technology, and they just want a trophy for showing up. Can anyone think of any other stereotypes that they know of that millennials might have?
Entitled?
That's a good one.
The grass is always greener.
True.
They don't want to work full time.
That too.
I've heard that millennials are actually the first generation that are potentially post deconstructionists. So it kind of goes against a lot of these opinions.
Do you agree that the generation before your generation might have had some of the same opinions about your generation that we do about millennials?
Mm.
To a certain extent, yes.
They definitely thought we were lazy. I know that.
Do you have an opinion on why they might have thought that?
I think that's just a generational thing.
We were young and
I agree with that too. And I think it's because as every generation matures, their priorities change. And unfortunately for millennials, with the recession, a lot of them are still stuck at home. And so they aren't getting married as early as some of us probably did, or having, have families. So they're that Peter Pan generation. They haven't grown up yet into that. But I'm sure as time passes, they will mature and grow out of these stereotypes. So the next thing is, who is the millennial generation? The Census Bureau defines the millennial population as individuals with birth dates between 1982 and 2000, which is roughly people that are 17 years of age to 35. Obviously, they are use a lot of technology. They rely heavily on emailing, texting, video conferencing, rather than actually meeting with people face to face. We got Snapchat now. It seems like they're all running around with Snapchat. And by the year 2020, millennials will make up nearly half of our workforce. So it would be beneficial for employers to attempt to understand what drives millennial employees. I feel this will help them retain the employees and reduce training costs. That's also, the cost of hiring a new employee is a lot. You have to deal with drug testing, physicals, and background checks and things like that. So they have specific things that they, I think I went too far here. Sorry. In the workplace, millennials value communication and feedback, interpersonal skills. They want a job that has a sense of purpose and a positive impact. And they also want opportunity for growth, and they want incentives that they get from their employer that actually matter. They're not interested in, gift cards or things like that. The first topic is the value of communication and interpersonal skills. Millennials thrive on feedback. Going back to the stereotype that millennials expect a trophy for showing up, that isn't exactly true. Most millennials are the product of baby boomers, and they had highly involved parents that I guess the term is a helicopter parent. They coach them, and so as a result, millennials expect a lot of feedback. And for some employers, that's a problem. They have to deal with day-to-day work, and they don't have time for 4 or 5 times a day to give their employees feedback. But fortunately, the millennials want short, pointed feedback. One article I read said, think of Twitter. They want 140 words or less. So I think that's doable, and they'll even accept a text or even an email. Millennials also have a very low tolerance for supervisors or managers that give hollow praise. They want meaningful feedback about how they're doing. They don't want to, good job, high five. And millennials also gravitate towards managers and supervisors that are relatable and accessible, that they feel that they can come to and talk to and get valuable feedback. The millennial employee also prefers a workplace environment that utilizes unique opportunities to interject fun and learning into their daily routine. When I worked at AT&T, I remember that we would sometimes use some team building games during trainings classes. One of the ones that we used was, it's called Two Truths and a Lie. And they used this, so I was in a call center, so we didn't have a lot of one-on-one with other employees because we're really tied to a desk. So when we went into this training situation, we had an opportunity to learn something about the other employees that we worked with by playing these different games. Does anybody have any examples of team building exercises that your company uses?
One of the ones that we do at work, it's not so much team, but it's just lunch. We have lunch with everybody, and it gives people a chance to break off from their normal work environment, have a little something to eat, and chat with their coworkers. But that's not necessarily team building. That's more morale building.
That's still valuable, I think, Brian. Does anybody else have any examples?
Yeah. The project I'm working on now, they have margaritas about 3:00 on every Thursday afternoon.
Woohoo! Where do you work?
Well, I'm on a project right now working with Tailored Brands in Fremont.
Okay. So let's move on from this. All right, so the next thing is a sense of purpose and impact. Millennials tend to seek jobs that allow them to feel that their work is purposeful. I think one way, and I think we in the first class that we had with Joy, one of the assignments that we had, it talked about sharing your vision with your employees. This way they can understand where you're going, and then they can also feel a part of that growth. The millennial is also less likely to seek out jobs that merely provide a paycheck. So they'd rather be happy at their job and not make as much than work at a job that they're completely miserable at. I think Myra also covered that in her training session as well. And I don't think that's completely limited to millennials. I think a lot of people now of all ages are going towards that. You know, they're who wants to work at a job that you're completely miserable at? And because they are seeking out jobs that are more meaningful to them, they are more likely to be job hoppers when they become dissatisfied with the work that they're doing. So that then there again, employers should work on trying to make a more meaningful workplace so that they're not having to spend money on retraining new employees every time they lose a millennial employee. Millennials also seek an opportunity for growth within their jobs. They often seek jobs that offer continuing training. I can tell you that my son-in-law works for an HVAC company, and he's been there for about 8 months, and he is already looking for another position because he really wants to get into an apprentice program, but they don't have anything available in there. So he's already, ready to leave because there's no opportunity for him to get into an apprentice program. Also giving millennial team members key projects to work on can also encourage personal growth. And again, it can also make them feel like they are contributing to the company, which gives them a sense of worth. The employer also benefits from allowing employees to develop projects that foster innovation within the business, because they may be able to come up with something that the employer never thought of that might allow the business to run more efficiently. It might be offer a better customer service to their customers as well. So the last thing I want to talk about is incentives that matter. A lot of companies are now offering perks to try to keep their employees where they're at. These are some of the businesses that I found and organizations that I found that actually offer paid days off. They also offer stipends for travel. Disney rewards their employees with free admission to all their parks for their friends and family. Although not every employer is able to offer perks, I work for a small business. Obviously we can't afford to pay tuition or some of the larger things, but we do have some discounts on items and things for the employees. And we also allow them to bring their family skating when they're not working. What benefits are important to you to keep you where you're at?
These days, it's health care and paid time off. Those are some of the biggest because health insurance is so expensive for not just the employee but the family. That's a huge draw for potential employees.
I work for healthcare also. My husband's self-employed and we have 3 kids, so.
Yeah, I will say the same. Yes, health insurance, because it's so expensive nowadays. So.
Yeah, it is very hard for people to afford that. And I also think that a good retirement plan, my husband works for the city of Roseville. They offer a very good retirement plan, and I think that's a big draw for a lot of people. So that's all I have. Does anybody want to add anything or?
Well, I left my previous job to move to a company that I basically doubled my time off. I'd been with my previous employer for 20 years, and I only had 2 paid days off, no paid holidays, no paid sick days. And the company I'm with now, Recology, based out of San Francisco, very progressive. I doubled my paid time off. My wife essentially got a raise because I went on our own company's health insurance plan, which is fully paid for. I don't have anything coming out of my pocket. and we're 100% employee owned. So we have a 401k, but there's also the ESOP. So every year you get shares allocated to you based on your gross income. And when you retire, 5 years for the 5 years after you retire, you get 20% of your company stock paid out. So it's a supplemental retirement plan. So
Wow.
it's not about the benefits. It's about the other intangibles that a lot of people are gravitating to, and millennials especially. That's why I said the grass is always greener. You mentioned that they're job hoppers. Well, they move because it's not always about paying the bills. It's about, quality of life. So that's huge. Why work at a job you're not happy with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's a big factor for me nowadays is, you hit a certain age and you kind of realize that you better start enjoying life regardless of where you're at in life.
And maybe they've watched their parents not enjoy life for so long that they're like, well, I'm going to do it right now when I'm young and I can do it, instead of waiting until I'm older and decide to do it. I don't know. But
I think that's very true, because millennials have grown up with the information age, and they can get on their phone and look at places and things to do, and they're interested not just in paying the bills and buying a house and settling down. They like to move around. They like to see things. I've got two millennials myself. I've got one son that's 23 and one that's 25. And my 25-year-old, he's already been to Europe, and he wants to see the world and do things and move to Oregon. And, they've just got a lot of ideas. It's not always about just being grounded to a single job like, some of us older people. I've been in the same industry for 32 years now. I love it. I'm happy. But yeah, there's lots of stuff that I didn't do because I stayed home and had a job, and they're more likely to want to, see the world and experience different things. It's hard to keep them happy. I'll tell you that much. I've got a guy that, he just, like you're talking about feedback. They want feedback. This guy calls me 5-6 times a day from the garbage truck. And, it's like, come on, man, just pick up the garbage. Not everything's a problem, but he wants to go pick up, cotton candy and cotton balls for garbage. It's like, no, there's fish waste and guts and baby diapers. Too bad.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
I think your topic is perfect for today. I also work with several millennials. I just missed the gap. I'm Generation X, but
Woohoo.
yeah. So I think I made the comment of entitlement. That's what my experience is. And of course, instant gratification. And Brian, as you mentioned, they grew up in the information technology age where everything's at their fingertips. It has been since they were in diapers. So it's definitely a challenge in my office and keeping them motivated because as you mentioned, these guys aren't particularly job hoppers, but I can see them ready to move to the next level where even my generation and the older baby boomer generation, it's about loyalty, pay your dues before you move on. And I think they don't understand that concept. That's not a part of them.
See, and
So
I agree with that. I think it's valuable to learn a sense of loyalty, and I'm not sure what's going to happen to this generation. I mean, it always works out some way or another, but
Sure.
When they get to retirement age, where are they going to be at?
Yeah. Who knows?
Very true. Very true.
Hi,
Good
Glenn.
job,
This is Devaney.
Hi, Devaney.
Hi. I just wanted to chime in a little bit now that I have my kiddos under control. I fit into the millennial category, and I can attest to definitely wanting to be happy at work. And I've been with my current employer. I work in outpatient surgery for the past 5 years. And prior to that, I was with another organization, Still Healthcare, for 4 years. So I do definitely think loyalty is important. However, I found myself in situations where things weren't harmonious at work, and I did have to move on. But I related to many of the things that you were saying, though.
Do you think it's because your employer didn't try to support you in resolving the issues?
I think so. I mean, I'm very, forthright with communication and everything, and I approached my superiors on several issues, and it was kind of a whole workplace issue, sort of, after talking to other employees who had been with the company a long time too. But they were staying for other reasons, because they weren't in a position to leave benefits or, the security of having a schedule, things like that. But they just, we saw a lot of turnover in the workplace because of it. So I was in a position to be able to move on. But unfortunately, for others, they had to stay for their families and other reasons. But, thankfully, I'm happy where I am now. And I think that's why I've stayed for so long. And there's lots of opportunities for growth and, support with educational benefits and awesome health benefits and things like that. So it's so important. I mean, that's, I think, what everybody wants,
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gwen, I think one of the points you made earlier about, the fact that every generation kind of goes through phases, and the intergenerational attitudes kind of go through phases as well. And every demographic group is really made up of multiple real subgroups, right? I don't know if you guys remember the grunge movement.
So
there's
90s.
I mean, sometimes it's embarrassing to go back and think of some of the things that were part of my quote unquote generation, right? So I think, I think we also have to look at some of these very generalized descriptions with a bit of a jaundiced eye, and remember that people are individuals, and they aren't necessarily going to fit into the mold of this, of the labels that some of the demographers want to try to be expert at kind of talking about.
All right, does anybody else want to add anything before we conclude?
Yeah, so I feel like a little interested because I guess I missed being a millennial, but a year. I was born in 1981, so I didn't consider myself a millennial. So I see, I work with a lot of young people. Like I see them as millennial because they're younger than me. But I can see like the whole generalization, in the generations, I guess, like because I'm a year older, but I can look back and say like, oh, well, I kind of did the same thing, when I was that age. So give me like a lot of tips on how to motivate them, and, so they can keep like working and what they're looking for. And maybe just because they are addicted to technology, but maybe just helping them and coaching them on how to use it like in a positive way to help them grow in like what we're doing.
And it's funny that you bring that up because they call that reverse mentoring. That's one of the things when I researched my white paper. Reverse mentoring is a younger, less inexperienced employee goes to an older, more experienced employee to help them navigate through new technology. And I am one of those people that needs help sometimes. So.
Well, you did really well on this, so congratulations.
Well, thank you, because I was very nervous, but thank you so much for everyone for coming.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah, no, that was a really good topic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, see you in the next class.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.